As above, so below. As within, so without. In other words, it's on and popping and it's going down. Y'all come on in the house. We have a lot to talk about. Grab your beverages, grab your spirits, your smokes, whatever you need. It's going to get a little heavy. So, I am Kakala your hostess for EarthtoneS. And there's a lot of energy stirring in the cosmos. I'm going to translate it for you in the terms of astrology. So let's talk about it. I've attempted this before, and I'm telling you what, it's so much energy that I'm going to have to walk and talk at the same time. And I'm going to show these energies to you in the skies, and you're going to have a better understanding. Because if you grew up like me, astrology was some soothsayer stuff, mess, or whatever that you didn't need to concern yourself with. But as I was young, I've always known my sun sign. I'm a Virgo, but I also learned later that the sun sign is not as important as where the sun was when we were born, as well as where the moon was when we were born. And that's something that you can Google. And I recommend that you do that because that's what drives our emotions and our decisions, the things that we're passionate about, the things that cause us to be emotional. So the energy that we are looking at now is the Lion's Gate energy. And the lion is about the self. It's about courage. It is about the confidence. It's about standing in your own power. And so this energy is actually opposing the energy that represents humanity, represents the community. And this is where we have Pluto, transformational energy. So I can show you better than I can tell you, but this 88 energy is also representative of the sign of infinity. When you turn 8 on its side, it represents infinity. And so this particular year is supercharged. It's very important, and it's like Plutonian energy. That's the best way that I can put it, because they're actually talking about putting nukes on the moon. It is the 80th anniversary of the atomic bomb being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So the 8 is the focus. It is representative of money. And we have Uranus at 0 degrees of Gemini, which represents the community. It represents commerce and trade. It also represents communication, social media. We have stories out the yin yang that is Plutonian, that have Pluto characteristics, such as secrets and sex stories and a lot of skeletons falling out the closet. This energy is also bringing us justice. It's representing the people, the family, the roots, the lineage. So let's look at it in the sky. All right, so this is where the constellations are on the ecliptic. And the red line is representative of the ecliptic. And I'm starting out in landscape mode because I want you to see. I also want to um, expand it, but I don't see it right away. Eventually, perhaps I will. But what I want you to see is Orion. Orion is our North Star, if you will. It is the meridian. When we look up in the sky, it is in alignment with the pyramids or Mir of Giza, Mir being the ancient Kemetic term. And I want to expand this a little bit, but before I do, I want you to see where the star Sirius is. And right now, I'm in the northern hemisphere and it's daytime here. So we see the atmosphere up here and we see the landscape and the outline of the landscape. But I want to remove this so that you can see the constellations. Now, there are 88 constellations in the visible cosmos. However, our sun travels along this ecliptic here, which is representative of this red line, and it travels through the 12 zodiac signs that we're familiar with. Now, the energies that we're experiencing at this time is so significant because of its configurations, and there are so many harmonics and octaves of exact degrees, such as the outer planets being in the very early degrees of their signs, then we just can't really conclude that it is just coincidence. It's no way that it can be coincidental. So we're in a very sacred time in our lives and in our existence as a species, because a lot of these configurations in these planets haven't happened in hundreds of years. Now, Jupiter and Saturn, our two gas giants, meet every 20 years in a sign. And what was so significant about the year 2020 was the fact that those two planets met in an air sign for the first time after meeting in earth signs for 200 years. So air signs are very important. So let's move on. We see the sun here. It appears as though it is in Cancer. However, it is in Leo. And why I want you to see it in the sky, because it really explains the differentiation between Vedic astrology and tropical astrology. Tropical or Western astrology is from the standpoint of the Earth's perspective based on the equinoxes and the solstices, the equinoxes being March 21st or 22nd and September 21st or 22nd, and the solstices being the 21st or 22nd of December and June. So we just experienced that summer solstice in Cancer in June, Cancer being a cardinal sign. That's the initiating sign, such as Aries, where we have Saturn and Neptune at this particular time. And another reason why this energy is so power punched is because Mars is going to be the focus point, and it is going to focus a laser beam energy to each one of those outer planets and activate them and their significations or their characteristics that they bring to us. Now, the sun appearing as though it is in Cancer in Vedic astrology explains the 21-degree difference. So when people say, well, your actual sun sign is not the sun sign that you were born with, it is the sun or the sign before it. It is actually 21 degrees. That is the difference between Earth's perspective and where the actual physical location of the star is located. And each star moves through the zodiac approximately 1 degree every 72 years. So this is our sun star here. And this is the constellation of Leo. As you can see, it's shaped like a lion. And we have the star Sirius down here, the brightest star in the night sky. And we have Mars, we can see over here in the constellation of Virgo. So Mars, as it actually hits, it's already transitioned into the sign of Libra. It is making that laser beam focus and direct line to those outer planets. And so the activation is taking place at the same time that we have this peak in the Lionsgate energy, August 8th through August 12th. Now, moving further, well, before I leave, I want you to notice here, this is Jupiter and Venus, because the Jupiter-Venus energy is actually opposing the Plutonian energy, not directly just yet, but as Venus moves forward, because it moves faster than Jupiter, Jupiter stays in a sign for a couple of years. Well, 1 year, 12 months, and Saturn a couple of years. But Venus is going to move forward, okay? And is going to join Mercury and the other planets that is going to transit during this time frame that we're focused on here. So as we move forward, we see the sun is transiting through Leo from Earth's perspective, but we see Mars in Virgo, or at the beginning of the constellation Virgo. And what's important about this particular phase of these transits is that Virgo and Gemini are ruled by Mercury. And so what's ironic is Mars transiting Virgo is moving that energy from gathering the data to analyzing the data, because Virgo analyzes and Gemini gathers the data. Now, as we move along the ecliptic, we see where Mars is from the tropical perspective at the early degrees of Libra. Now, that position at the early degrees of Libra is completely and totally opposite from the early degrees of Aries, that initiation energy that I spoke about in the last video over there in Aries, Saturn and Neptune, if I didn't mention that. But here we have Antares. We have the 4 royal stars that are correspondent to the archangels that are noted in the Christian tradition. And what you see moving here are satellites in real time. So Antares is in Scorpio, and we have Uriel in Taurus. Fomalhaut is Gabriel in the southern hemisphere, and in the northern hemisphere we have Michael, or I'm sorry, Regulus, which is at the heart of the lion, and in Taurus, Michael. They confuse them, and Michael being strength. That's why that should be associated with Leo, but Uriel and Michael, yeah, Michael is associated with Leo and Uriel with Taurus, and that's at Aldebaran. Aldebaran is the bullseye. That's where we get that expression, the bullseye. But what I want you to see here, and I've passed it, Antares in the constellation of Scorpius. Okay, so this energy is what we're experiencing because Mars rules Scorpio as well as Aries. So we have a lot of aggressive energy that is taking place, but it's being balanced by the energy that we saw in Cancer, which is Jupiterian and Venus energy. Those are the supportive energies, whereas Mars and Saturn are challenging energies. But the 13th sign, the 13th sign is something that is mysterious to a lot of people, although they know it exists. Well, if the horoscope or astrology is so real, what about the 13th sign? Well, the 13th sign is the occult sign. It is Ophiuchus. It is going down into the underworld. And it is all about your journey, the hero's journey. And so Scorpio, well, when the sun passes the descendant degree, which is at Libra, where we have the balance of the scales across from the across from the world axis, which is 0 degrees of Aries, the first sign. So we have that horizontal line there, and the vertical line is where we have Pluto at the early degrees of Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn in traditional astrology, and in modern astrology, ruled by Uranus. This is the electricity. And so this is where we're talking about that spark. And we're going to touch on that further. But these are the energies that are being ignited by the Mars energy. And so if Mars is the lower octave that rules Aries and Scorpio, Pluto is actually the higher octave of Mars. And therefore, if Mars is aggressive and mean, then Pluto must be the annihilator. Pluto is evil. And so actually, all that being true, they both have their opposite effect as well, being transformative. Pluto being transformative in that we may be going through the dark night of the soul, and because we face those challenges in the underworld, in the dark night of the soul, or during those times, we come out like the finest diamond. We come out shining. We come out anew. We come out with wisdom and so forth. And this is where we are as a people, especially in the United States, because Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer. This is the knowledge. This is where we gain the knowledge, because when we experience pain, this is the lessons that stick with us. And so Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer. And then we move on to Sagittarius, which is the house of higher learning. This is the house of philosophy. After we've gone through the fire, we come out shining and with wisdom, higher learning. This is long distance travel. This is, I want to give the definition or the etymology of philosophy. Philo being love, Sophia being the Iron Soft, Iron Soft Sophia, that is the great mother, that is the star Sirius. So we're learning a lot of lessons through and by this symbology and all the different mythologies of the world, because the Christian mythology is in the form of humans. I'm looking for the ecliptic again. And let me close. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, what you see around it is are constellations that have been named with Greek names, but just like Orion is actually Osiris. And so the ancient Commetans created their own constellations. And if we were to add the art, we can see here where Lyra is, Cygnus, Pegasus is here, and here you can clearly see Scorpius at this time, as well as the serpent bearer Ophiuchus. But this is what I want to point to next. Aquarius, where we have Pluto. This is where we are being transformed as individuals, also in our families. We're transforming in our communities, in our nations, and the world over. And so the cosmic waters are being poured by the water barrier, and these cosmic waters are being poured near the mouth of Piscus Astrinus or Astrinus. And this is indicative of our transformation from the era of the fishes into the Aquarian age, from the Kali Yuga into Dwapara Yuga, if I can say that word, Dwapara. But here we have Saturn appearing in the constellation of Pisces, but it is actually at the early degrees, 1 degree of Aries. Here we have the ram, the lamb, the beginning. And so that is indicative of the new beginnings on the different levels of our existence. And so if I zoom in a little closer, you will see Neptune right there with Saturn. It is just that close. Of course, in the sky, they're light years apart from each other, but they're at the same degree of the zodiacal wheel. And so those fixed stars that I mentioned, Antares, Fomalhaut, Aldebaran, and Regulus, are also representative of the four gospels. This is the four directions. If we are familiar with the biblical story of the book of Daniel, those four fixed animals, which is the eagle, the lion, the bull, and the man, are without wings, but in the book of Revelation, they have wings. And why is that? It's because they're at that point enlightened. So it's all really intended to be translated metaphorically. But this is where Aldebaran sits, which is the bullseye. And this is the cluster of the Pleiades, which is also very important in our soul's journey. But there's a closer look at Pollux and Castor, where we have Jupiter and Venus. So let me get out of here, and I'd like to go into a different screen where we have the current natal chart, and you can see it kind of from the 2D perspective. And this is how the natal charts look when you are obtaining a consultation. So what I want to show you are the lines. The blue line are actual, I'm trying not to use the word negative, but these are your supportive energies, and the red ones are your challenging energies. And they're simply communication between the planets. If you think of a radio transmitter and so forth, these configurations tap into the actual radio stations. They're tapping in, they're making a mutual transmission, a mutual reception between one another, depending on the degrees apart that they are. And so what's important here is this kite configuration that we're looking at, because the energy, where is Mars? Well, Mars is here. And so we're actually looking at two kites, because Mars is the focal point that is directing that laser beam energy that I spoke of to the outer planets. One going towards Pluto, another one going towards Neptune, and the third one going towards Uranus, which is here. And remember, I showed you where Neptune and Saturn are side by side, very close in proximity at the same degree. And here they're at 1 degree of the sign of Aries. But what's also important is Chiron. Chiron is a centaur such as that in the sign of Sagittarius, or that which represents the sign of Sagittarius. And this is a healing centaur. The mythology goes something like he left home and was hurt, and he was immortal. And so he was experiencing all of this suffering and pain. But what he learned in his journey was to how to heal himself. But because he was immortal, he couldn't die. And therefore, he transmuted that energy into healing others. But this is all about healing the self. And of course, that may come by different means. It may come through other people, that healing and so forth, because we are also looking at this Chiron energy taking place in our society here in America and in other countries. But this Mars energy is making that kite configuration, if I can outline it, with those 3 planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And so those are the laser beams. But at the same time, there's this kite configuration where the moon is the focal point, and those are our emotions. And that moon energy is pointing towards Mars, Mercury, and Uranus. The Mercury and Uranus being the communication planets, and Uranus being the higher octave of Mercury. The higher octave of Venus is Neptune, and the higher octave of of uh which one am I missing? Mercury being Uranus, Venus being Neptune, and Mars being Pluto. Okay, so the sun and the moon are about to oppose one another in this full moon energy that is taking place on tomorrow. So all of this energy is converging, and this is what we are seeing on the ground, but it's happening in the heavens and it's also happening in the earth. But let me show you where it is happening in the United States. So this is the United States chart, and going to drag that over here, make it a little bigger. The United States, born July 4th, 1776 at 5:10 p.m., is a Sagittarius rising. So the themes that we are facing in our country are evidenced in what's going on in the cosmos, in the heavens. Here, as I mentioned, Sagittarius is the house or sign where philosophy, our worldviews, higher learning, and subjects of this nature is important, it's featured. And so across from that is where we have Gemini and Uranus at that 0 degree, which is again a very important and potent degree because it's within the first 5 or 4 degrees of the entrance or the transit into the sign of communication, commerce, and community, which is Gemini. Gemini, the sign of social media, is all about media and communication with people and commerce and trade and all the things associated with that. And then the United States has all these planets here, which depending on where these degrees are, could be considered a stellium. More than 3 or 4 planets is considered a stellium where this energy is shared. Jupiter, the Sun, and Venus in Cancer, this cardinal sign. And so this cardinal energy is initiation energy, and it also represents the homeland. And with Jupiter here, and Jupiter also being in Gemini, and Venus moving into Cancer. I think Jupiter is in Cancer. So we're talking about an abundance of energy that is putting the focus on the family, putting the focus on the roots, the lineage. And here in Libra, this is where the energy of the self, the lion, where we have Virgo stationing to go forward again, is opposing this Plutonian energy, and the moon is transiting in Aquarius around 14 degrees, where we're talking about the emotions. And so in the natal chart of the United States, that moon energy is in Aquarius. It's actually 3 degrees of Pisces, but it's very sensitive energy. And so we're in our feelings, and this is evidence of that. So this being the United States energy, it actually explains a lot. So as I bring this to a close, please, by all means, subscribe, like, and I'm going to put the links to my social media platforms in the description box below. But I also want to mention these 2 channels that I watch that I think would be of interest to you. And one of them is The Soul of the Universe, or The Secrets of the Universe. It's the acronym that I think of. but it's the secrets of the universe. It's very interesting. It shows you where the planets are during any period of time during the month or throughout the month. And we're going to experience another parade of planets where you can be able to look into the eastern sky at the dawn hours and see with the naked eye Venus and Jupiter, and then Venus and Jupiter. Uh, you may even see Mercury and uh, and Saturn. Mars is not going to be visible because remember, Mars is opposite all of this energy that's taking place. But if you want to see real time evidence, go outside early in the morning and you'll see this energy towards the mid month. The new moon takes place on August 23rd. We're moving into Virgo energy, and that's my birthday energy. Happy birthday to me! And that energy is going to level things out. We're going to look back on our decisions that we've been making this month just to check in with self and see where they are. But if you've been mistreating people, justice is here. Justice is here to see you. It's knocking on the door. Answer the door. It's knocking. But yes, if you are in a relationship that is where you're not happy, whether that be a work relationship or a personal relationship, that this is that energy that's going to encourage you, influence you, and urge you to create a plan to make a change. Now, I say plan intentionally because that's what it's going to require. Saturn, along with Neptune, this is that energy that says I can make a way out of no way because Neptune is dissolving energy. It's our dreams, making our dreams into reality. Saturn is reality. Saturn is crystallization, manifestation. So these two planets beside one another is that duality of making a way out of no way and making something out of nothing, manifestation. Pay attention to your dreams. Dream journals are very important at this particular time because you can make your dreams come true with this energy. Standing in your power, giving voice to your feelings, giving voice to yourself, making a plan for yourself. Because if you meet the universe halfway and exercise your will, the universe is going to meet you and show you the way. So last thing I want to do, y'all see I got my little lion here represent. It was a gift to me and so forth, but to represent my Leo energy. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking our power back and we're going to create boundaries for ourselves and so forth. So if you been mistreating somebody and creeping around and all that kind of thing, it's going to come out. And if you on the other end of that spectrum, make that plan and so forth. And next year around this time, you're going to be blowing somebody's mind, but keep your mouth shut in the meantime. But I'm going to pull an African goddess card before we go and see what comes out. And I'm going to ask the question of the ancestors because these are the goddesses of the divine feminine in all of us, the divine feminine in all of us. And so, Spirit, what do we need to know? Give us a message from the ancestors. We should be focused on Sankofa energy at this time because we have to look back in order to go forward. And that's one of the Indinkra codes. Okay? So let's see what comes out. I'm just going to, there we go, grab one. And it just flipped over. So I'm just going to pull or turn over what came out. Now, my intention was to pull out one. Gong Gong Sarah is resistance. And that's what this energy is, like a rubber band, resistance band. And so we're going to be standing in our power regardless of the resistance. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for sticking in here with me. And we'll see you on the next video. Y'all take it light. All right. Peace.